Hey there, welcome to the next video in the Bitbucket Blitz video series. In the last video, I talked about change gating in Bitbucket and Jira Service Management. In this video, I'm going to talk about Bitbucket's Dynamic Pipelines. Dynamic Pipelines provides a way to programmatically alter Bitbucket pipelines on a per repository basis or for all repositories in a workspace. Without Dynamic Pipelines, each repository requires its own configuration file. I need to add static analysis and testing steps to each of the configuration files I'm responsible for. Furthermore, I need to update each individual file every time my organization adopts a new tool or changes engineering standards. And there's no way from organization to know if I've done that or not. They can't enforce standards across all repositories. Managing many repositories with individual configuration files leads to a poor developer experience, tech debt, and poor standards compliance. With Dynamic Pipelines, organizations can programmatically alter a repository's pipeline at runtime. This means that an organization can broadly enforce pipeline standards, ensuring that all required static analysis and testing is being executed. Furthermore, developers get all this functionality without having to write long Bitbucket pipeline.yaml files. This improves the developer experience and lets them spend more time building software and solving problems for their customers. Alright, now that I've introduced Dynamic Pipelines, I'm going to show you how to create one. We're going to do that by using Atlassian's Forge tool. So to start with, we're going to go into our terminal and we're going to type Forge create. We're going to give it a name, so I'm going to choose something real silly like wonk. And then we're going to go down and choose Bitbucket. Then we're going to choose triggers and validators. And then we're going to choose Bitbucket Dynamic Pipelines Provider. And what this is going to do is it's going to bootstrap a Hello World dynamic pipeline for us. So now if we take a quick ls, we can see that we've got a wonk directory, ECD into wonk. We can see it's a really simple structure, package file, readme, source directory. If we take a look at the source directory, we've only got a single file. If we take a look at that file, we can see that it's 3 lines of code. Like I say, it's the Hello World dynamic pipeline. Now to deploy this, we're going to run forge deploy. This is going to take a little bit of time. After deployment, we're going to run forge install. We're going to choose Bitbucket, and it's going to ask us for our workspace URL. So if we go back to Bitbucket real quickly, our workspace URL is bitbucket.org/ and our site name. So you can grab that from any of your repositories, paste it in and hit enter. And it's going to ask if you want to continue, and you say yes. Now that this is done, we've deployed a new dynamic pipeline to our Bitbucket site. Now we're going to jump over to Bitbucket and we'll take a look at how we can enable that dynamic pipeline on a per repository basis or for all repositories in the workspace. All right, from your repository, you can click repository settings. Then you can scroll down and choose dynamic pipelines. And then you can see that you can choose which dynamic pipeline you want to run. So in this case, there's been a few that are deployed, and we can choose our wonk dynamic pipeline and click save. This will run the wonk code every time you execute a pipeline in this repository. If you want to run certain dynamic pipelines in all repositories in a workspace, you can also set workspace level settings. So to do that, you click here, and then you can choose a dynamic pipeline from this dropdown. Now, all of these are available. We're going to choose Demo Dynamic Pipeline 01 and click Save. We could also choose wonk. This is how a platform engineering team can enforce standards across an organization. By setting a workspace-wide dynamic pipeline, they've guaranteed that all repositories will run this dynamic pipeline every time one of their pipelines executes. So this is how you can broadly deploy standards across your organization. And by doing this, it saves developers from having to go into each of those repositories and manually adding those steps and updating those steps and spending time administrating the pipelines themselves. The platform engineering team can do it from a central location, and the developers get all the benefits without having to do the work. This lets developers spend more time solving problems for their customers and building software. All right, now that we've seen how to set up a dynamic pipeline and set it for individual repositories or for all repositories in a workspace, I want to take a look at what this actually does. So we're going to quickly jump over to repositories, and we're going to jump back to our repo that we started in. And let's take a look at pipelines. Now, if we look at this pipeline run, this was before the dynamic pipeline was installed. We can see that we've got 2 testing steps, test backend, test frontend, and 2 build steps, build backend and build frontend, and then a deployment step. Now, if we go back a second and we take a look at the next pipeline run, we can see that we've still got the same structure: test backend, test frontend, build frontend, build backend, and deploy. But we've also got this dynamic step. This was injected by the dynamic pipeline. So if we jump over to the source, and then we go back over our Bitbucket pipeline to YAML file, and we scroll down, and we look through here, we're not going to see any step for dynamic anything. We've got steps for testing the backend, testing the front end, building the backend, building the front end, and deploying. There is no step for that dynamic thing. That was purely injected by the dynamic pipeline. Thank you for watching and learning about Bitbucket's dynamic pipelines. You can learn more about dynamic pipelines by scanning the QR code. I encourage everyone to try out dynamic pipelines. An easy way to get started is to use dynamic pipelines to replace a code linting step in your existing pipelines. From there, you can move over one pipeline step at a time. Thank you.